Snap UK podcast, your home of news, views and opinions on this side of the pond. It's a welcome return of some sense of normality as the gang is back and reunited in the doghouse. Say hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
With the exception of Paul, who's, taken a family holiday.
So selfish.
I know. Unbelievable.
Well, I still think we should have podcasted at Paul's house. I did suggest this to John last night.
As a member of Paul's family, it feels really harsh that I wasn't invited on the family holiday.
Yeah, as not a member, but as someone who knows him quite well, I also feel aggravated by this.
I was hoping we could just all take selfies of us with pineapples and send them to Paul.
Today on the show, we're tackling the news from training camps which have opened this week. We will have to revisit the ongoing abundance of crap that is COVID. And we're going to delve into the subject of the NFL rulebook and some things we'd like to change or tweak. John has even done us a little quiz for the end of today's show, just so we can get back into the real feel of things before the season starts. And you can play along while you're listening if you like, because we won't have any clue what the answers are, so you might as well have a random guess yourself.
It's going to be a very easy quiz.
That means I'll get 0 points.
Most likely, but who's counting? Before we head into the camp battles, we need to discuss today's announcement regarding the London games. So that is where we're going to kick off today's discussion. Gentlemen, this is not good news if you're a Wembley season ticket holder who wants to attend NFL games in London this year. Fire away, everyone's got an opinion.
So I suppose I am the only season ticket sat at this table. So I suppose it's a difficult one, isn't it? I think as soon as the Tottenham Stadium was built, also to be an NFL stadium, really, there was going to be a massive shift from the focus on Wembley to Tottenham. And as soon as they split the season ticket a couple of years ago, this was always a risk of this happening if we lost games or whatever happened. And I understand why people are frustrated, because the Wembley season ticket holders have been there longer in most cases. But what do? The Tottenham fans have got their seats at Tottenham. It's a very difficult one. Luckily, the games are pretty poor this year, and most people should just not bother.
The Wembley season tickets holders were given first dibs on Tottenham season ticket holders to buy Tottenham season tickets. Sorry. However, it's pretty expensive. Like, I know when it came up, I had a Wembley season ticket. I couldn't afford to do it, and I'm not exactly poor. So I do feel like giving priority to the Tottenham ground season ticket holders is a bit of a kick in the teeth to 60-odd thousand Wembley season ticket holders who have been there for the last 10 years, investing money, going to watch the game, supporting the game here in the UK. On the other side of the fence, from an NFL UK point of view, I think no matter what they did, someone would be upset.
I don't see how you can logistically do it. So, do you give everybody a 50-50 shot and just let the website crash, or do you what tiers do you allow access? Is it the people that pay more? How do you do it? Because across the two, there must be 100,000 season ticket holders or something.
I think the bigger issue is that there's. I'm sorry to bring kind of up the C word now, but there is the COVID issues, which is probably means that the NFL are reluctant to make long-term plans about games coming to the UK. I think if they could draw a line and start again and say, actually, we're not going to play at Wembley now for the indefinite future. We are going to play it at Tottenham for the next 10 years. And people can plan for that. And people can buy their season tickets with the knowledge that there's going to be games every year at Tottenham. And I think the issue is no one had any warning. Yeah, you can say the cards were probably written that Wembley would end, or the run of games at Wembley would end at some point. But no one knew. So when you made that choice between Wembley and Tottenham, you just thought you were making the choice between Wembley and Tottenham, not the choice between carrying on attending Tottenham games or going back into the lottery, which is getting NFL tickets by staying at Wembley.
I mean, there is some comfort in the fact that Tottenham will inevitably fuck it up at some point, because they do with everything else. So we'll be back at Wembley in 2 or 3 years. I think it's the same as every problem we have. In the end, it boils down to money, and this is where the money is to be made, because if the money was to be made at Wembley, they wouldn't be moving to Tottenham, and that's what it's all about.
Because they've invested as part of the Tottenham Stadium, isn't it? They've invested in it, so it was going to happen.
It was inevitable, yeah, absolutely. It's a shame because I've enjoyed the trips to Wembley, regardless of the quality of some of the games, but the access to Tottenham is poor. And when you throw in some iffy-looking games as well, I'm not sure it's going to be that much of an enjoyable experience, especially for a lot of first-timers. You might find there's more access for tickets a year later when people have decided not to go back. Because people will try it, and if it's not great, they won't necessarily return. They won't be prepared to put up with what was the first game I went to at Wembley? We watched EJ Manuel through back-to-back-to-back interceptions or something. They're not likely to put up with that, because I don't think the rest of the experience will be amazing.
Well, there was already talk that we were going to lose a couple of international games because they weren't looking to do more international games, were they? They're looking to just put them further
Shift
afield.
to Germany.
So Germany, Mexico,
China's been slated
a few
as well.
others. So I think there was an expectation we would drop back down to 2 games already. And if they've invested in the stadium at Tottenham, I can see them just cancelling all season tickets in the next couple of years and making everybody reapply.
See, I think it's more likely to go the other way, and they'll add yet more games to the slate, an 18th game at some point, and it will always be played abroad. Every team will play in another country at some point in the regular season. So that might not be imminent, but that's what I think they'll do. They want to get back to an even number of games because, as we're going to get into, no one can finish 500, and they're like that. So an 18th game and perhaps no pre-season or fewer pre-season games, and that game will be played abroad, whether it's Canada, Mexico, here, Germany. It's big in Ireland. Ireland have said they'd like to have it at Dublin.
They get a college game every year. Notre Dame and Navy played there a couple of years back.
And like I say, China want to get in on everything now. And so I think that is a likely outcome at some point in the future. I'm not devastated, but I do always hate the financial kick in the teeth. It bugs me, but it was inevitable.
It's generally with the ticket releases from the NFL UK, it always feels like it's been sort of somehow, even though they've had a year, it feels the ticket release has been rushed.
Oh yeah,
and it's just going to be exacerbated this year because of the C word. Cunts.
Yeah, absolutely.
I really thought everyone was talking about Christmas because we're nearly at that point at work where we're starting to plan for it.
So you've used a dirty word.
Yeah, because of COVID. It's going to be like that.
Right, we'll move on from the London disappointment. I mean, I will say as well, I'm not disappointed at not having the Jags foisted on me if I can't go and watch them. But anyway, moving on from that, training camps have opened. Battles are plenty. We can start wherever you like. I'll throw the big one out there and then you guys can dive in afterwards. The big one so far is the injury to Carson Wentz. The fact that the Colts have gambled on a guy with a massive injury history. He's immediately having to have surgery and is out for 5 to 12 weeks. We'll split the difference and call it 8. That's the first month of the season done. The backup is either Jacob Eason, who apparently has been horrendous in camp, or Brett Hundley, who started 9 games for the Packers. And did he play for the Cardinals, I want to say? But he certainly started a lot of games in place of Aaron Rodgers a couple of years back.
He's been everywhere.
Oh, man. But he's been terrible everywhere. Yeah. That's the point. This guy is not good. And there is talk that Frank Reich would happily welcome reunification with Nick Foles. Now, Nick Foles...
This is talk from Nick Foles, though.
But it's not. This is in the air because he knows the system, so you can plug him in. The only person who doesn't want this is Carson Wentz because Nick Foles makes Carson Wentz look bad. Carson Wentz is in the middle of a mental rebuild. Forget the physical. He'll get over this and it'll be something else in a year's time. But it's the mental rebuild for Carson Wentz that's key. And you bring Nick Foles in and he will collapse.
Do you want to know something even worse? Quentin Nelson's injured for 5 to 12 weeks.
Same injury.
Stood on his foot, didn't he?
Yep.
I mean, that is proper O-line backing up your quarterback. Get injured for the same period as well.
Which means if you do bring in Nick Foles, he's just going to get trounced anyway. Yeah. I mean, I haven't got the Colts schedule in front of me.
I have.
Yeah, it's rough.
It's not good to start off the season. So
first 4 games?
Seahawks, Rams, Titans, Dolphins, and then Ravens, and then you've got the Texans on the 17th of October. So
realistically, at best, you're 2 and 4.
Oh, that's without your starting quarterback. That's
Dolphins
rich.
And Texans, maybe.
I think Dolphins would beat them.
No, I think it's a little bit bigger than that for Wentz because when was the last time he actually played an entire season, if ever?
The year he got to the playoffs and got taken out by Clowney.
Yeah. That was the year after the Super Bowl, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's played one full season.
I think so.
And as a
Basically.
quarterback, that is really quite poor. And I think, you saw what happened with Andrew Luck, and he played way more at the end of his career than Wentz did. He had one bad injury and spent some time in Europe looking into that, didn't he, or whatever he was doing. But Carson Wentz has struggled through his entire career and struggles with the physicality of this league. He's earned a lot of money. If it doesn't get any better, then I can see this petering out to being a very poor career that finishes much quicker than people thought.
Yeah, he played full 16 game slates in 2016, his debut year, and 2019, the year after the Super Bowl. And the other seasons have been 13, 11, and 12 starts. And his record actually is a winning record, but he's only 35, 32, and 1. It's not a great winning record.
And then give it this season, and it won't be a winning record because it's going down and down and down, isn't it?
Absolutely.
To be fair, I think last year, was he injured or was it talent that got him dropped?
It was a little bit of both. I don't think he was fully fit.
No,
because he was on the pit, he was on the sidelines looking at why he was absolutely apoplectic with anger on the last few games, wasn't he? Because the Eagles were throwing it away.
they were tanking.
And he was on the sideline. He only had a 12-game season last year, but he was probably on the bench.
But the athleticism that he relies on has gone. I mean, the O-line was poor last year, but he led the league with 50 sacks taken in 12 starts. He was bad last year. And I didn't say he was injured, but it's a mental rebuild for him, and that is as bad as many injuries. It's like when players rehab and then they can't run the same. There's nothing wrong with them. It's just they won't put themselves through it in case the leg goes or the knee goes. He's the same. He is broken. Frank Reich can fix him, but if they then bring in effectively the guy that stole his glory and took the Super Bowl win away from him, I think he's
It'll be
done.
hilarious.
I don't think he's ever recovered from that.
No, I don't.
Because even though, he played the full season the following year, but they scraped into the playoffs. It wasn't the Carson Wentz we saw before the injury. Because before that injury in that Super Bowl season, he was on course for MVP. He was brilliant. He's just never been the same. And that Eagles team isn't the same. It was terrible last year. It's very difficult to see how much of it was his fault in terms of talent, how much of it his fault in terms of fitness. And how much of it was the fault of the Eagles roster just being absolutely terrible, and it's terrible now. I wanted to see him succeed because he seemed like a good player that year they won the Super Bowl. I wanted him to get to Indianapolis, prove everyone wrong, and prove all the doubters that he could be a good quarterback. Now I'm just like, Jesus.
How many quarterbacks, though, have 2 or 3 good years in their career and then go on to do nothing? Quite a lot.
Oh, massive number.
Quite a lot get hot, they get into good form, they're confident. Then, for whatever reason, they get dropped, somebody else gets drafted or brought in, or they get an injury, and they're just never the same, are they? Because there's so many factors that makes them...
The thing with Carson Wentz is I think it's fairly apparent that on his good days, or his highs, if you like, he can take a team to the playoffs and win a playoff game or two. On his down days, he can't actually quarterback a team. Like, his highs and lows are worse than, say, Fitzpatrick, who swings massively, wildly, but... there's still always, he might throw 4 touchdowns in this game and they'll lose. Whereas with Wentz, he looked like he'd never thrown a touchdown.
That is the quickest you've got Fitzmagic in left field for ages.
Okay, well...
You love Fitzmagic.
I do. But...
it's because you can't mention Mariota now.
well, I can. He's still in the league.
At least he's in the league.
Not like Bortles. Here's the thing I saw about Wentz. He's the first quarterback in history to throw 20 or more TDs and 7 or fewer interceptions in 3 consecutive seasons. Like, the guy started his career brilliantly. He went way beyond what Goff was doing.
Yep.
And now look at the two of them. Goff's been forced out of his team. Wentz has been forced out of his team. These two were 1 and 2 picks back in 2016. And the careers are stuttering at best. Now, they can both actually make reasonable attempts at coming back. I think Wentz is in a much better position to do so, but the opportunities are there. But they're both mentally fragile. Both of them have had some injuries, but they are mentally fragile. And that isn't something that you get over lightly in any walk of life. But at the top of a particular sport, that's hard. You look at Ben Stokes at the moment, has now said, I'm playing cricket until I feel better. This is a guy who he takes all the pressure and does all the things for the team. The innings in the Ashes, where he just batted for like a week and a half to save the test or whatever. It's like, It's incredible what you can do, but when your brain has had enough, it's had enough. And Wentz is already treading that fine line. If you then bring in Nick Foles for the first month of the season, I think he'll break. I think he'll snap.
It is a big discussion in sport at the moment. You mentioned Ben Stokes. There's the gymnast Simone Biles, who more or less had to kind of step away from an event, what should have been the peak of her career. And
Osaka.
Adam Peaty, who obviously won gold medals. He's now said, "I'm taking a month off. I'm done." With the Olympics, at least with those athletes in the Olympics, you're reaching a peak every 4 years. If you're a quarterback, there's so much pressure on you. There's so much media intensity on you for 16, 17, 20 weeks of the year, where everyone is focused on you. It's a position unlike any other in sport, where if you're a good quarterback, your team's good. 9 times out of 10, if you're a bad quarterback, your team's bad. It's the absolute focus. So you're absolutely right. I think, bringing in Nick Foles is probably the right thing to do for the team in the short term. It's going to kill Carson Wentz.
Yeah, I think we're reasonably agreed on that. We did this last week. I quite enjoyed it. We'll take a snap vote. Anyone think Nick Foles starts for the Colts week 1? No, me neither, actually. I think it might be Jacob Eason, and then they might go for someone else.
I think they might go for someone else. Nick Foles makes sense, but I think if they truly believe that Carson Wentz is their quarterback for the next 5 years, they can't bring Nick Foles in.
There's plenty out there still, isn't there?
Mariota.
I was going to say Mariota's out. There is plenty out there.
Yeah, there's a few. Yeah, there's always one or two. I even heard rumblings that maybe Phillip Rivers could be tempted out for a month out of retirement to come and play, but
that wouldn't totally surprise me.
Nor me. I'm sure that they could get by. I really like Sam Ellinger that's on the squad. I know that he was a 6th or 7th round pick. I loved watching him in college. I thought he was really, really good. I don't think he can translate, but I tell you what, not many teams will have game film on him, so you might get away with it for a few weeks, like the Eagles did with Hurts last year. Like, you bring him in, and it might just do something different. And I bet you he's better than Jacob Eason.
He always, playing for Texas, he always gave it 110%. I think if you speak to any Texas fan about it, they loved him. They thought he was a great player, and he was right to get drafted. No one expected him to be drafted early, but he was a highly respected quarterback at Texas.
Yeah. Right, we'll move on from that. We'll pick some other subjects. Does anyone want to dive in, or do you want me to throw them at you and you can talk?
It's nice you've got a list.
I do have a list. We'll get the one out of the way that makes everyone go, which is Tim Tebow realistically making it as tight end at the Jags. What do we think?
No.
Yes.
He's looked good, apparently. He's got the playbook down. He's doing the job.
He's earned his money. He's paid for himself, so they can take a flyer, can't they?
Yeah. I think so. Urban Meyer loves him. We don't love Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer loves him. He's a leader, which Jacksonville definitely need. I really think there's a chance he plays.
Top of the shirt sales, wasn't he, through the summer?
Because his name's Tim Tebow.
I know that, but it's a business, isn't it? So if he catches a few, how many bad tight ends sit on the rosters? Loads.
It's true. And who's the chap at Washington?
Half of them can't even catch.
Logan Thomas?
Logan Thomas, yeah.
Quarterback. Became a tight end.
I'm not denying that a quarterback can become a tight end.
It's the fact he's 47 years old and he's been out of the sport for 10 years.
Out of the sport for 10 years.
He was a tight end in college, wasn't he?
No, he was a quarterback.
He was a quarterback.
For Urban Meyer. He should have made the transition to tight end after it kind of became very obvious that he wasn't
2014.
He wasn't an NFL quarterback. Go away for 10 years, come back, and suddenly you're a tight end in the NFL. Don't buy it.
It seems unlikely, but at the moment, I think he sticks.
For pure entertainment value, yeah, great. But if you're a Jags fan, I think you're sitting there going, yeah, I really want him as my tight end.
Probably not. Right, here's a subject you probably do want to talk about. Trey Lance outperforming Jimmy G in training camp.
That's going to come out in camp battles. I don't think you can read anything into it.
Well, we'll stick this in camp battles if you like. If you want to go straight into that, that's fine. But
no, there's other news we've got to talk about.
I think, with this one, I think we've been quite clear on our opinions on it for most of the time, haven't we? That Jimmy will be the number one for weeks 1 to 4. Jimmy will get injured. He'll sleep with a new Playboy model, and then that'll be it. It'll be done, and then the swap will happen. So, they're not going to say it straight away. But that will
just send Jimmy G to the Colts.
It will happen, won't it?
There's a very realistic chance that Jimmy G isn't there at the start of the season. If a big quarterback goes down, I'm talking like Wentz plus then he is the guy. Somebody
if
will
we
come
can
and
get
take
value, we've already, we were open to it, weren't we,
Yeah,
earlier?
the only thing is, behind him and Lance, I don't know what you've got now. I don't know who's left.
Rosen?
Yeah, Rosen's there. Josh Rosen's there,
Right.
yeah.
So then if Lance gets injured or doesn't perform, your season is over and you're a Super Bowl ready roster. So keeping Jimmy G, if you can, is actually the best move. We'll come back to that if we need to. The Vikings quarterback situation in training camp is a disaster. So Kellen Mond tested positive for COVID, and all the other quarterbacks who'd been close contacts,
except
a guy I don't think I'd heard of.
His name is Jake Browning.
That's him, Jake Browning. And he wasn't a close contact, but the others have not been vaccinated. And we are 1 year on from Kirk Cousins' quote of, "If I die, I die." And apparently he's still preaching that. And the Vikings have the lowest vaccination rate of any team. Mike Zimmer apparently is pleading with them to be vaccinated because he knows his job's on the line this season. And if the Vikings lose games because players have caused an outbreak or players become unavailable, his career at the Vikings is over. He deserves better than that.
I like Zimmer's quote about the whole situation and Jake Browning being the quarterback. His quote is, "Jake's really smart. He's vaccinated. That helps to be the backup." Like, what's going to happen if okay, we're in week one of training camps. What happens if that's week one of the NFL season?
So
it's
they're
your
talking
first,
about
it's your first and possibly second game gone.
they're talking about forfeits, aren't they?
Yeah.
And losses this year rather than postponements or
I mean, we're going to have
games.
what happened in Denver last year, where and I can't remember Kendall Hilton, something like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean,
wide receiver.
A wide receiver who'd played quarterback.
From the practice squad as well, wasn't he?
From the practice squad. Came in and played quarterback, and fair play to him. Absolute, gave it his all.
He
But
nearly got killed.
he nearly got killed, and you're never going to win that game, are you?
Where's Johnny Football when you need him, eh?
I know, but it would have been like one of us being, I don't know, pick a job, high-rise window cleaner. Gary, go up there and clean the window. You just crap yourself.
Like you're given 5 days to change your position to what I've just said is probably one of the most individual positions in the whole of sport.
Yep.
And go and play at the highest level. Yeah, good luck.
Yeah, it's not ideal. I worry for the Vikings in the fact that they don't seem to be able to motivate the players to change their mind.
Zimmer's come out and said it's basically what you expect whenever you're dealing with people who aren't getting vaccinated. Apparently, what the stuff they're watching is it's nuts because they are.
The problem is when your cultural leader in the building is Kirk Cousins, who has said, "I'm not getting vaccinated," other players feel like it's okay for them to say, "That's what my quarterback's doing, so that's what I'm doing."
The offensive coordinator's martyred himself.
Yeah, it's all a bit disastrous.
I think there's big issues in Washington as well. I mean, they've got 7 players who are currently out, and Ron Rivera, who's come back from cancer, he hasn't got the best immune system. He's pleading with his players, please get vaccinated. It's my life on the line, not just his job.
Yeah.
The thing is, we were discussing this, and I've had further to this discussion today as well, but I don't like paying tax. But the government tell me that they're allowed to steal my money, and I accept it because it's best for society. So get your vaccination because it should just be the rule. Otherwise, you are a health risk to everybody.
Totally off topic, but there's going to be rules in places where, there is in this country from September, you're not going to be able to go to nightclubs. And there's going to be lots of, if you're not vaccinated.
When was the last time any of us went to a nightclub?
Not that affects us. But there are going to be you're not going to be able to go to restaurants. You're not going to be able to go to the cinema. You're not going to be able to go bowling, whatever it might be. Strip clubs.
But it's a very round the houses way of pushing people towards it. They should just be saying, do this.
I don't think they legally can.
Yeah.
But why can you legally tax me then?
Well, there's a law for it.
So then put a law in to say if you want access to the NHS in this country or you want to do your job in the NFL,
because I think
I'm not disagreeing with you there, but I think that'd be difficult.
I think you could do it with the majority that they've got, but then I think you might not be in power for a while.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is,
these
last
people
year
have moaned for the last 18 months about having to put a thin layer of fabric across their mouth, claiming it's muzzling their freedoms. So, if you tell them that they need to put what is a perfectly safe vaccine into their body, then they aren't going to do it because they watch too much YouTube.
At the end of that, it's going to come down to the fact that there are going to be some teams that lose games because of COVID this year, probably.
And I think it's the only way, if you take money out of those teams and out of those players, that is the only way you will persuade them to do it.
Absolutely. And
then we're back to money again.
It will come down to the fact that those players who don't want to get vaccinated won't get jobs in the future. If this is an ongoing thing, if we have to learn to live with COVID like we have to learn to live with the flu, that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, I agree.
It's a shame it's going to cost Mike Zimmer his job because
it's
effectively
not actually his fault.
It's not his fault, and it looks like he's been trying to get rid of Kirk Cousins for years, and then he when he finally needs him, he's not going to be there. So fuck you, Kirk.
All right, let's move on to a less heavy topic. Deshaun Watson's playing safety at training camp and has taken reps as the 4th choice quarterback.
We said last week he's not going to be starting for the Texans anyway.
Yeah, but why would you have him playing at all? If he gets injured, that's the very last shreds of you getting a trade done.
That's why he's playing at safety. They're trying to get him out of the way.
Could ever associate the word safety with Deshaun Watson.
Well, I'm just telling you what's happening in training camp. It's a concern. It seems very foolish. They would be much better off just saying, we won't fine you for not turning up, but please don't turn up.
I don't understand why he's not on the exempt list.
Well, he's not yet. We had this conversation
last week.
He's not.
We're waiting for.
Well, look who doesn't listen.
I know, right?
Apparently, he's busy.
Commutes to and from work every day.
I know.
Effectively, the commissioner needs to
step up now. Okay, come on. Let's get into something else. A good thing, a positive thing this week: the Chubb contract. We all like a case of the Chubb contract. He is now the best or one of the best paid running backs in the league. Commensurate with his production, I will say. And it seems to have been very clean, and everyone's just like, yeah, we got that done. You've not heard anything about it, have you?
Only that it was done.
Yeah, only that it was done. And that's
but
it.
he's not one of those diva type players, is he?
No.
Like, you just don't hear from him. The only time you hear from him is when he's on the field.
Did you not hear the quote from Kareem Hunt when they asked him if he'd been hanging out with Nick Chubb, and he was like, no, all that guy wants to do is work. You're like, fair enough. But this is how some players are much better off working this way, because he hasn't hacked the team off. He hasn't been out in the media or posted anything, and he's got a really good contract. And I know some teams don't like to pay running backs, but he is 50% of their offensive production. Everybody's done right by everybody, and the guy's going to get paid.
This is a good contract both for him, because he gets $20 million guaranteed. No one can take that away from him. He absolutely deserves it. But it's also good for the Browns in terms of how it's structured. They can get out of it after 2 years. And save themselves a bit of money. But, it also means that after 2 years, he can renew a contract. So if he keeps that production up, he can go on and earn a bit more money, whether it's with the Browns or with someone else. So it works for all parties, I think. He earns his earning potentials, also the Browns for their cap as well.
Scary over the last 18 months how impressive the Browns have been as a franchise, just like wholly impressive. Like whether it's the management, whether it's the coaching, whether it's what they're doing on the field. When you look at the roster, we've said for a while now, it looks scary, and that's got better in the off season. The management of the whole franchise seems to just be on the right trajectory.
Yep.
And it's just like, is that team finally, made the playoffs last year? That's a massive step for them. Is it going to just
Steelers?
Is it just going to keep improving? Because that Steelers team is
they
moving
just
backwards,
re-signed
isn't it?
De Podesta as well, didn't they?
Yeah, and he's been the one that's been there for
5 years,
5-6 years now, and I know there's a bit of comings and goings with GMs, but it looks like they've now settled on a GM. They've settled on a head coach. They've found something that works. Like you say, they've got a great roster.
Baker in a contract year as well.
No, he's still got another 2 years. Well, he's got 1 year left, and then there's an option.
I think they're talking that this would be the year. If he has another good year this year, this is when he'll get his money.
They'd lock him up.
Yeah.
I think they would. And I was going to come to it when we do our preview shows over the next few weeks. But my biggest concern with that team is Baker, because first year, brilliant. Second year, terrible. Third year, brilliant. Fourth year, you tell me.
I wouldn't say brilliant last year, but he was good.
All right,
better.
good enough.
He took a step up. I mean, I think he's a good quarterback. He's solid. They built a good team around him. If I was them, though, I'd be looking to lock him up sooner rather than later, because you've got a lot of very good quarterbacks that could come down the road in terms of elevating the amount of money that quarterbacks could get paid. The mistake that Cowboys made with Dak, they don't want to get caught up with that again. They want to pay him now, get him locked up, and then let Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson set the market next
Yeah,
year.
I think as well. There's a lot of young defensive players on that team. They're going to have to pay as well in the next couple of years. So I think you'll hear quite a lot about contract talk for Baker halfway through the season.
Christ, I hope not. Who saw this coming? Zach Ertz is still on the Eagles, and he is decidedly unhappy with the fact that he's still there.
Do you blame him?
No,
I don't blame him
you
either.
don't. It's not really what you want in your training camp, is a star player who is extremely disgruntled. Now, I know last year was hardly the height of his career, but the guy is still a star in terms, certainly, of what his potential ability to bring to a team is. And you feel if he's happy, he could certainly make most rosters, if not most starting tight end slots in the NFL. And yet, there he sits on a terrible-looking Eagles team, and there's been no apparent attempt to move him, which is what he wants. I don't really understand. I can't believe he's worthless.
He's very expensive still, and he's had a very unproductive year where and I know the Eagles sucked across the board, but like if you've got a young quarterback, if you're a head coach, you probably want a standout tight end. They've got two that are pretty decent.
Why don't the Jags go and get a proper tight
Just
end?
about to say that. I was just going to jump in with the same thing. Surely that's the move
Isn't
to
that?
make.
I mean, I know the Jags have Lawrence, but it's like jumping out the frying pan and into the fire. It's going from shit to shit.
Probably, but at least he would get to move away from Philadelphia.
It's
which is what he wants to do.
maybe a more floral shit at the Jaguars, but it's still shit.
I am fast becoming a real supporter of the Jags with
Yeah,
you
you
really
really are.
opposition.
Yeah,
Ertz came off the back of an injury last year, though, didn't he? So he finished the previous year injured, didn't he? He's only 30, Ertz. I think he's been around for a long time, so it feels like he's probably a bit older and his career's been a bit longer than the likes of, say, Kittle and that, but he's not that much older than so.
No,
I think someone should try and go for him, but if he's expensive and he didn't have the greatest production last year, he's difficult to move on, isn't he?
Yeah,
because what the Eagles will want for him and what Ertz will want out of his contract is not going to be easy to find a home unless you've got somebody who's either thinks he can make the difference in a win now team. If not, who's going to invest that sort of money in Zach Ertz? I don't know. No,
it's certainly a tricky one. It just surprises me that he's still there. I thought somebody would have made the move for him. And also with the Eagles, Devonta Smith is injured.
Yes.
Now, they are gambling a lot on getting production out of him for Jalen Hurts, which...
He should be back
Yeah, but this is an injury he's been carrying since the playoff final in college. Like, this is something that hasn't cleared up.
The biggest danger is rookie wide receivers are rarely good. Like, you look at all the ones
last
that
season
in their first season.
I was going to say Rager sat there all season and did literally nothing.
Yeah,
he spent most of the season injured.
Most of the rookies last year did very well, but it was a standout year for that.
It was a standout year. I mean, rookies and tight ends usually take 1 to 2 seasons to understand the playbook and become better players. Like Jerry Jeudy had an all right year at Denver, but certainly not a standout year. So for him to kind of miss his first training camp, we saw this a lot last year with obviously the pandemic. To miss his first training camp and not get those reps in, it's going to be a problem, especially with the quarterback at the Eagles, who, quite frankly, isn't good enough to be playing at a starting NFL slot.
I mean, Justin Jefferson, CD Lamb. Am I missing anyone else? I don't think anyone else.
Jefferson had a great year.
Jefferson was great.
CD Lamb was okay.
Ayuk Brandon Ayuk at the end of the season.
Brandon Ayuk had an okay year. I'm saying all those players will be better this year, I think.
They'll be better this year, but you could get that out of a Devontae Smith. It's just, I mean, even in a fucking division with Jones, that the Eagles quarterback is the weakest.
Well, speaking of Daniel Jones, he got himself into a little bit of bother today, didn't he? When he got pinned at the bottom of a scrum fight that happened on the Giants training ground and had to be pulled out and sort of brushed down to make sure he was okay. And you know what? The sad thing is, he is all right, and you will have to play him. I feel for you, I really do. Yes, apparently Joe Judge has basically laid the law down because it was all kicking off on your training ground. I suspect an air of frustration may be creeping in because the Giants' D still is going to be very good, I think, and the offense maybe not able to pick up the slack yet.
We don't know what happened. there's not even pictures of it. I think it can go one or two ways. If it's really bad because everyone really hates Daniel Jones and sick to death of him being terrible, or it's really good because these players are pumped up and wanting to go and they're raring to go at the bit.
I hope it's B.
I hope it's B. It could be A.
It could be. Well, it could be A. I mean, there's evidence for A from last year, but let's. I generally, as a fan, I sometimes don't mind the players kicking the shit out of each other before the season because
isn't that because you're a Leeds United fan and their players used to regularly fight each other anyway?
Did you see that JT Ibe was cut from the Panthers today?
Yeah.
They'd taken out a wide receiver, just cut immediately.
Keith Kirkwood. He did a helmet-to-helmet hit and laid the bloke out unconscious.
Yeah,
I believe.
and then he just got cut. Of him.
Yeah.
They just said basically go now.
Well, good. I mean, as they should. If you're going to play dangerously, I suppose he was over-enthusiastic is the phrase, but you can't endanger someone.
Guarantee though, if that was a top 10 player on the roster, they wouldn't have waived him.
Oh yeah,
no, of course not. No. If Earl Thomas does that or whatever, you're like, oh, he's ready. Teddy, we'll come to the quarterback battles and things. I'll leave that for a minute. But I wanted to bring up Randall Cobb returning to Green Bay. This is Aaron Rodgers basically forcing Brian Gutekunst to bring him back, as evidenced by the fact Gutekunst pretty much said, yeah, we think Randall will be fine, even though he got rid of him 2 years ago. He's done nothing since he left Green Bay. He had a year at the Texans and a year at the Cowboys.
Yeah, that's right.
Right, the fact that I'm struggling to remember that. I mean, what's he picked up in 2 seasons? It's about 400 yards or something in 2 years.
John gave us a stat the other day, didn't you?
Oh yeah, wasn't it about $30,000 a yard?
Yes.
Yeah, and $300,000 a catch or something ridiculous.
And so, I mean, in all fairness, when Aaron Rodgers was asked this, he said, "Yeah, that's because he didn't have me as his quarterback," which is a great answer, by the way.
When we first started playing fantasy, NFL fantasy, I had Rodgers and Cobb.
Yeah,
and they were so good. And then Jordy Nelson, that Green Bay team with those two wide receivers was so good. And we've seen what Rodgers can do with terrible wide receivers. If you give him somebody with some talent, surely he can make something
special. It's going to be better than
happen.
Jacob Kumaro, you'd have thought.
Lazard and whoever else he had. Sent a million,
Sent Equinus Brown.
There you go, that's the one. Sent a million.
Equinus St. Brown, sorry.
I was thinking about having a glass of wine, I think.
He's no Olamide Zacchaeus.
No, St. Quim. I mean, unless Rodgers has a fountain of youth, because quite frankly, like when Cobb left the Packers, he wasn't pulling up trees, and all that's happened is he's got 2 years older, and done. I mean, what have you done for me lately? And they always say you should definitely go back. So
that's what they say. It's a
Randall
comfort
Cobb's
blanket.
only 30.
Yeah, it's a comfort blanket for Aaron Rodgers, and he will get something out of him, I feel. In which case, he will sort of be proving himself right, but in a very roundabout way. It's not Randall Cobb making the team better. It's Aaron Rodgers feeling better and therefore elevating his play. That's it.
Who's that other little wide receiver who always gets knocked out? He always just reminded me of him.
Brandon Cooks.
Yeah.
The other little wide receiver.
Just slower.
Who always
At least Brandon Cooks has pace.
Yeah, that's true. Finally, I think, for this particular segment, the Ravens have signed Justin Houston.
Yeah, I think that's a great signing.
Massive signing for them because they're going to need a really good defence again.
They lost both their premier pass rushers last year, Matt Judon and someone else. Great knowledge. And they picked someone up in the draft who didn't record a sack in the college game, from what I remember. So they need someone to come in and be a bit of an experienced pass rusher.
Yeah, I think it's a really solid signing, and I suspect he will contribute vastly over the course of the season. I'm still not sure whether I'm sold on the Ravens or not. Again, we'll come to it in the preview shows, but I have my doubts and my concerns.
One last bit of news that's just hit the Twitter. Former first-round pick Jeff Gladney of the Vikings has been released after being charged with domestic violence. So it just gets better for the Vikings.
Yeah, and women. Gets better for everyone, obviously.
I did see a lovely quote from Mike Zimmer earlier, because they've got D.D. Westbrook as a wide receiver. Apparently, he's catching everything. I was like, be careful.
Yeah,
be careful, mate.
Don't say that. Oh, Christ. But fair enough. Right. I asked you to take a look at some camp battles, which obviously I accidentally alluded to a few minutes ago. So I wanted to see what you thought about. I mean, it's often quarterback battles, but there will be one or two other things. and I wanted to know what everyone thought their sort of peak camp battles are going to be and what the outcomes are going to be. So, Jim, you lead off, and we'll go with you from there.
Oh, I was going to go with Taysom Hill versus Jameis Winston.
Is no longer a battle because
Is it not?
Michael Thomas is going to miss 4 or 5 weeks, so they will start Taysom Hill. That's it.
That's your opinion.
That's guaranteed. You can't have Jameis Winston throwing to Chris Hogan.
You can.
You can't.
You can.
It won't work.
I don't get the Taysom thing.
Oh, neither do I.
I don't think he's an NFL quarterback, and I don't see why you bother to go and get Jameis Winston. I know he's cheap, but if you've got Jameis, you've got to roll that dice. I just don't understand what you're getting. Taysom's he's not a quarterback. Like, I just don't get it.
I agree. I don't understand anything the Saints have done with their quarterback room for the last 5 years. Okay, signing Drew Brees to new contracts, that's fine. But you knew he was coming to the end of his contract. Why didn't you bring in someone young to build behind him? You're now left with Taysom Hill versus Jameis Winston. And
Jameis is only 26.
Jameis
is
talent.
young.
He has talent. If he's
got new eyes.
If he's but if he's coached properly, Jameis showed talent, didn't he? He scored a heap of touchdowns.
He will score points. They will win.
He did, but surely there must be ways to scheme around that a bit with somebody with that. You know, he was talented in college. He was talented for the Bucs. Surely there is a way to scheme an offense to make sure that you don't make. And surely Sean Payton can do that. So why on earth using some joke player? I don't understand.
Who were the wide receivers that made Johnny Manziel look good? It was Mike Evans and somebody else. There was 2.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
You mean at college?
Yeah, in college. They made
Just Mike Evans. As
right,
far as
okay. Well,
I remember coming into the draft, I watched one of these YouTube highlight reels of Johnny Manziel. I was like, he's brilliant. Every ball was overthrown and every ball was pulled down by Mike Evans for a touchdown.
And this is my point about with Michael Thomas out, Jameis Winston will be a turnover machine. When Michael Thomas is on the field, if he plays for the Saints again, I think that combination works because I think Michael Thomas will make Jameis Winston look good and Jameis will just take every chance going. And that's fine. I don't mind that as the option behind Breeze. But losing Michael Thomas, I think they're scheming the other way.
This has been another problem at the Saints, isn't it? In terms of, okay, they didn't have a quarterback ready behind Drew Brees. They didn't have wide receivers either. They got Michael Thomas and then
Chris Hogan.
Well, now it's Chris Hogan, but before that,
Premier lacrosse player Chris Hogan.
Before that, I can't even remember. Something or other.
Tre'Quan Smith,
yeah.
Something Harris, Demetrius Harris, or whatever.
The fact that we're really struggling.
Yeah, I mean, this is the problem.
They have Ty Montgomery.
They do. Oh, do they? Excellent.
And is he a running back or a wide receiver?
He's technically he's a running back,
right?
Yeah.
I mean, they've got obviously Alvin Kamara is a threat out of the backfield, but like you're not without Michael Thomas, without another wide receiver. It's easy to defend against the Saints.
Emmanuel Sanders that's gone.
Yeah,
he was there, and Jared Cook was there, and those options aren't there now. So, yeah, I don't think this is a battle though. I think
Devontae Freeman.
Yeah,
and he's
backing up Kamara, which should be interesting.
They have a very great in 2016 running back roster of Ty Montgomery, Devontae Freeman, and Latavius Murray. So yeah, strange.
Okay, I'll throw one out then because I got to mention him earlier.
Are we ruling out Trevor Siemian making a play for the New Orleans Saints?
Is he the third quarterback on the roster?
Yep.
He's more of a quarterback than Taysom Hill. Trevor Siemian. That guy got unfortunately swept aside because he played on some okay teams and he wasn't amazing, but he's better than, say, Brett Hundley, who could well be starting for the Colts. That's all I'm saying. The dude's not awful. I'm gonna go back to where I started the podcast. Fitzmagic or Tyler Heineke, because apparently Fitz is the only quarterback playing well for the
Fitz, isn't it? I thought
didn't
he come out and say he was going as the starter? It's the first
time
he's felt
but they were dividing reps up equally.
Yeah, that's bullshit. That is. It's going to be Fitzmagic.
And all the reports are that Heineke is bad.
Yeah, really bad.
He was talking about how it's the first time he's been confident that he's going as a starter, wasn't it? In like years,
yeah.
Fitz. I'm sure I saw that in the press.
But have you seen who he's throwing to?
Adam Humphries.
Now, what do we remember about Adam Humphries?
He turned down the Patriots to
join the
Titans.
On a massive contract. He was brilliant
with the Bucs.
Where his quarterback was
Fitzpatrick was.
Thank you very much. Right, so that's where I was going with that. And apparently the two of them just look like they've never been apart. And that team, Adam Humphries, if he's fit and good alongside Scary Terry, with Fitzmagic bombing it down the field, I really like that team.
Good defense.
Yeah, great defense. I think
running backs as well.
Yeah, good couple of running backs.
Yeah, So I don't know. They're on my radar for a sneaky good team.
They've improved over the last 2 or 3 years, haven't they?
Don't forget they made the playoffs last year. Now,
Have they picked a name yet, though?
No, they're still the football team, and they will be this year as well.
Yeah, we're still voting for Red Pandas.
Nice.
Yeah, exactly. Next up, anyone?
Can I mention the running back battle at Jacksonville? Because if you've got shitty old Urban Meyer.
He's not getting much respect in this podcast. Jim really likes
But that side of the table.
Yeah.
But they had 3 decent parts of their team last year, which was like Gardner Minshew could at least move the ball.
Look at his
He
face
really
when he has to
struggles to
say
say
that.
that.
Laviska
I'm sorry,
Shenault.
hang on. I'm trying to defend the Jags, and you're coming at me with Gardner Minshew.
I'm just saying
okay.
he's okay. I mean, like literally, compared to the heaps of shit they had elsewhere.
Don't forget they sat him so they wouldn't win.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, that was the best move they made.
Laviska Shenault, quite a good little gadget player, but James Robinson was really unlucky not to go to the Pro Bowl. And what they've done is drafted Trevor Lawrence's mate at running back, and I think that's really unfair.
Etienne.
Yeah, and
Travis Etienne.
Yeah, from Clemson.
so I know, like, I think he might be a bit more of a catching back, but I feel, but I think from the sounds of it, they're trying to sort of shoehorn James Robinson in as a wide receiver, and
That ain't gonna work.
that ain't gonna work. I feel so. Yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But basically, the one part of the team that was working, they've got unfixed.
I think if you had a better team than the Jags, you could make that work. We see so many teams these days with running backs having 2 quality running backs.
Chubb and Hunt.
That happens a lot, but I just don't think that the Jags are good enough to work how to do it.
No,
So
because Urban
but it
Meyer's
should
terrible.
work.
It stands to reason. We've not seen Urban Meyer in the NFL
No, there's a reason why he's been in college for years.
because he kept winning.
He's a run-first coach as well, so maybe it'll work. But you've also got a very high-profile quarterback, you know. But yeah,
There's 2 things which a rookie quarterback really needs. One is actually 3 things: an offensive line, a tight end, and a good running game.
and a coach who's going to be there to help develop you.
That helps as well. So
I'm with you on this one. We're so tied together on this one. Oh, Urban Meyer's going to be terrible. Right.
But it's like, I think as Gary has just said, a good team could make this work.
A good team.
But it's the Jags.
Gary, any quarterback battles you want to throw in? Or any camp battles you want to throw in, sorry?
I didn't do any prep, so no.
What, would you like to tell us why you didn't do any prep?
Busy.
Busy. Fighting off the public. Okay, well, I will throw out the one that I'm surprised didn't get mentioned already, which is Aaron Rodgers and Brian Gutekunst, because I think that will continue to rumble on throughout, because eventually one of these
different
two...
type of camp battles. Isn't
Yeah,
it?
but it's still there. And is it going to be a case of every time Aaron snaps his fingers that the Packers are going to jump now? Or is it going to be, we've given you Randall Cobb, don't ask for any more? What's it going to be? Which way does this go? Because one of them won't be there at the end of the season.
This is a really bad analogy, but I mean, back in 1938, they gave Hitler the Sudetenland and said, "Don't take any more."
That is an awful analogy. I mean, I don't really know where to go with that.
This is what it.
I see what you're saying.
The Packers have shown that they'll almost do anything to keep Aaron Rodgers happy. So what's to stop Aaron Rodgers turn around and go, "Well, I want this now."
I want Brian Gutekunst out.
Yeah.
Which is what he wants, by the way.
Which is what he wants, yeah. But I also feel like it's a known fact.
That's the
that
Sudetenland.
Even when you mentioned 1938, I was thinking he's going to mention something about, like, you know, George Hallis or something. No, Hitler.
Hitler. Alsace and Lorraine are coming up next. Treaty of Versailles is soon on the board.
We all remember our GCSE history. That's good. You got Brian Gutekunst waving a piece of paper saying appeasement.
He's
I've
still
got no
outside.
idea. How on earth? Sorry, I was dealing with something. How on earth did you actually get here?
Don't go back
You just
out
have
of the
to
room
listen
again.
back.
Don't worry.
But my point is, where are the Packers going to draw the line? Because they know Rodgers is leaving at the end of the season.
Yeah,
That's part of his new contract. So why bother giving him anything this season?
I have no idea.
Are they? They're obviously in a win now position because you're facing another couple of seasons with a rookie quarterback who we've got no idea how good or bad he is because we've not seen him barely on the practice field. So at what point are the Packers going to say, Aaron, shut up and get on the field and play?
Surely at some point they should be asking Jordan Love what he wants.
Yeah.
Because what's the point of being shackled?
God, I hope it's Randall Cobb.
Referring again to your history lesson, Kaiser Wilhelm, I believe, once said that when Germany was aligned with Austria during the First World War, that they were shackled to a corpse because Austria was bound to lose. Well, Aaron Rodgers is bound to leave, so the Packers are currently shackled to a corpse. They need to move on. Brilliant. I know, we are combining things here. This is amazing.
I think we're taking this slightly left field.
I know, but it's great. You wandered out and came back in and didn't have a clue what was going on. It's amazing.
So now I know what we're talking about.
Right.
The whole thing's he's a player, isn't he? He's being paid. He's an employee. You know, either shut up and play or leave. Like,
I mean, as well, like if you had one power play,
I'm terribly empathetic.
If you had a power play to use,
Yeah.
Randall Cobb is not a fucking power play.
No, it really is.
That is a fair point.
No,
I mean, geez. I mean, like, yeah.
Anyone else with any other things from camp?
We didn't talk about Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo.
Oh, yes, go on. I'm sorry. I brought that up earlier by mistake.
Trey Lance looks really good. It's practice. Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't look terrible, though. That's the other thing.
You got to keep them both, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I haven't ordered a Trey Lance shirt
Please
yet.
don't. Please don't. I'm a bit worried that you're wearing a Bosa shirt tonight, to be honest with you. It's practice.
Well, have you seen what his girlfriend's been tweeting?
No.
I'm sorry? No, go on.
So there's a load of Twitter storm at the moment because Bosa's girlfriend may have tweeted a load of stuff with the N-word, and it's all kicked off
We've
about
gone
it.
from the Sedaten land to racism by a player's girlfriend.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Awesome.
Trey Lance looks really good, both in the passing
Yep.
game and the running game. But Jimmy G also looks pretty decent. And I agree with you. I think Jimmy G probably will end up injured. But if he's the quarterback for the whole season, I still think the 49ers are going to be a strong team. And
Yeah,
maybe it's next year that they bring Trey Lance in.
I think you can win with either of them.
Yeah.
I really do. Okay, we're gonna move on from camp battles, which sounds like something that would have happened on TV in the 70s. We need to move on from that. Referencing the entertainment...
Oh, yeah, she has some positive attributes, his girlfriend.
but
Jim's just
not her
Googling
language ability.
Not
apparently.
her language.
Right, referencing the entertaining and transformative approach that cricket has taken with the 100 tournament, I thought we would take a look at some NFL rules and sort of pick a few that we thought if you changed them, tweaked them, got rid of them altogether, it would improve the game and draw in more casual fans, because that's what the 100 is doing in cricket. It's all for the kids. Make it less complicated, make it more fun, shorten the game. And these are things that I think can be done with the NFL. So we'll just fly through a few things. Has anybody got a rule they'd like to throw out there?
Ad breaks, the TV ad breaks.
Good luck.
I know they're but we're starting from a wish list,
You
aren't
can
we?
do anything you like.
When you start going right, okay, so then we've both got the 2-minute warning.
No, you
and
can
then
do whatever you want.
Then
with
we've
this.
got
I will point
TV,
out
TV timeouts.
Jim's choice earlier was more cheerleaders.
Yeah, but my point is, we've got coaches' challenges and timeouts. Then you've got the 2-minute warning. Then you've got TV timeouts. Then you've got injury timeouts.
I did think about saying actually get rid of the 2-minute warning.
So there are some, if we're talking about how to speed the game up, you've got to look at which ones of those can go.
I went more extreme than that, in fact, but very linked to this. I said eliminate replays and just give a coach one challenge in each half and just do it that way. Go back old-fashioned.
Booth reviews have got bigger and bigger.
Longer and longer.
So I do think there is something around stoppages.
Yeah, absolutely.
However you want to break that down, whichever one you want to go after. Yeah, what is the 2-minute warning about? I don't really even... just because it's an important 2 minutes.
I think it harks back to when they didn't have clocks on the within the stadium, so the coaches didn't know how long would be left. So it literally was, you've got 2 minutes.
Yeah.
I think that's where it harks back. I might be wrong there.
So I
think you're probably right.
Yeah, so I just think that when you're watching it, you just go, right, it's another... that last 2 minutes, when they save up their timeouts and stuff, that last...
takes forever
You go look at the clock sometimes, they go, 5 minutes to go. Well, that's really 20 minutes.
Yeah, we've been in the stadium, you're like, we're not catching that train.
And even in the rugby this week, the Lions, there was 64 minutes to play 40 minutes because of the amount of replays.
Yeah.
So there's got to be something to move on.
Something's got to be done about that. I wanted to look again at the overtime rule.
Oh, I had this
I
as well.
cannot abide the way overtime is done in the NFL.
I don't like it.
I think it should be the best of one possession. So each team guarantees one possession. And then if you're still tied after that, I'm saying kicks from 45 yards till someone misses. Because I think it just needs to be over and done. And everybody gets a fair chance.
It needs to be fair as well. I think at the moment, it's still a coin toss.
No draws as well.
Yeah, no draws.
What's the point?
No, I agree. They don't need to. But if you said we're going to do kicks from 40 yards and then if you both score, we're going 45, 50, eventually there's a loser, but it would be entertaining. You can't tell me you wouldn't watch that.
Oh, pressure, yeah.
Yeah. So, not that I'm ready for more penalties, but that's what I would do.
I'm going to go with the catch rule because the catch rule pisses me off something chronic.
Yeah.
Make it simple. Has he caught the ball? Does he look like he's caught the ball? Not any of this. Oh, he followed through. The whole movement wasn't.
That's unfortunate.
He didn't hold the ball through the whole.
Talking about John eating prawns again.
Yeah.
He didn't hold the ball through the whole motion of landing and rolling over. Did he catch the ball? Yes, no, done.
I agree. I think that's been a very long-standing issue for the NFL. It goes back to what we've said about football or anything else. If there's 4 or 5 people sat in a pub and they say it's a catch or it isn't, that's what it is. It shouldn't. You don't need an overly complicated rule. You just need consensus of opinion.
Does he have the ball in 2 hands and or even one hand?
One hand.
And does he have both feet on the floor?
Yeah, that is the extent the rule should be. That'll do. John, anything?
Revert the kickoff rule back to what it was a couple of years ago, because effectively the kickoff now is it's a non-event, and actually a kickoff. I mean, we remember
it was one of the most entertaining
Super Bowl
return,
the Super Bowl kickoff return. The
Jacoby Jones,
Devin Hester for the Bears against Colts.
They had, they were very exciting, and basically they've just nullified it out of the game.
Do you not think that a lot of the time, in a lot of sports, not just the NFL, they sacrifice entertainment for safety, and they've all gone a bit too far?
Yeah.
I'm not saying you don't need to be protecting players, but it's too far.
Agree. And I'm going to build on John's point here around the onside kick.
Yeah.
Either bring it back
or eliminate it,
or have what they've talked about, having the 4th and 15 on your own 25.
Yeah.
Because at the moment,
I think you should just let them do a big Gary Owen. Just boot it up in the air.
It's just pointless, isn't it? Because I think we maybe saw one onside kick recovered last year, and it was the most. I think back to that Colts Saints Super Bowl 10, 12 years ago, where they kicked off for the second half and it was an onside kick. Brilliant. You'd never do that now because you're never going to get possession.
No, I don't have the onside kick recovery percentages in front of me, but it went down massively.
It was terrible.
Yeah. I think only didn't Young Ho Koo, I can't remember.
Young Wei
Koo. I think didn't he do 2 in a game? I think that's basically. I think he was the only person to actually recover onside kicks. So
they've gone down from 13% to 6% since they changed the rules.
I'm surprised it's that high.
Yeah, 6% is not a lot.
Kickoffs, whether it be onside kick or there's jeopardy in them, and what they've done is they removed it. And I mean, have they made it safer? I mean, the people are still
bombing down.
People still bombing and going in. It's the tackling, the method of tackling that's the issue, not the fact that there's 4 blokes, on one side and so many on the other.
Does that not hark across then to one of my favourite play in most games was the guy that went leaping over the line when they were trying to block a kick, and they banned that because you weren't allowed to touch anybody, and now you're not allowed to leap over the line. That was a daft one because how many people were injured doing that? None. I don't know. It's not many.
Anyone, but it was entertaining.
It was entertaining, and that's what it should be about. And this is what I mean. I think they go a bit too far. We were having a conversation away from the podcast yesterday about the Formula One, where I think they've gone too far because cars are insanely safe, and yet they still insist on making it ridiculously safe. And you're inherently in that you're doing a sport where death is a risk, but in the NFL it's not, and it's so much safer than it used to be. And the helmet technology is amazing. That I mean, these people know what they're doing. It is their job. They signed up for it, so let them play.
It's important that they know what they're doing when it comes to tackling technique, and they need to be punished when they don't do the right technique. When it is a tackle, when it's led with the head, punish them, ban them for a game or 2.
And then if we're going really left field, so didn't The Rock buy the XFL?
Yeah.
So why don't because I think when you've seen it in the other sports, what they've tried to do is keep the sanctity of whatever that sport was built on. And what they've done is they've created new franchises and a new league. They haven't tried to just completely change the game. So if we want something more dynamic, rather than the XFL trying to rival the NFL with worse players with the same game, and I know they changed a few rules, but potentially that's the place, isn't it, to go and try this stuff? And do we need quarters? Do we need halves? Do we just totally change everything? Because they turn around at the end of each quarter as well. What a waste of fucking time that is. I didn't even realise that till I went and watched the game live.
Yeah.
It's like, what a waste of time. So we've got to walk all the way down the other end. And, who cares?
Just another advert break.
It's just a waste of time, isn't it?
One of my things was, because harking back to the XFL, I did like their kickoff rule, but you just couldn't do it because people broke legs.
On the very first one, somebody broke a leg. Yeah,
but
but at least they tried it.
But the change in presentation, they had they were willing to try really random stuff. And so they had a cameraman on the pitch who basically got beat the shit out of it. And I'm not saying that's thing, but I think,
So what you're saying is these players that get done for domestic violence, they should be forced to carry a camera and stand in the middle of the field. That'd be an amazing way of dealing with it.
I mean,
no pads, one massive camera, you're in the middle. Off you go, son. 3 weeks.
Yeah. But they were willing to, obviously because of the wrestling influence, they were willing to change the presentation a lot more.
So this guy gets hit with a chair. I would watch that.
But they tried the Madden style cam, didn't they? So and everyone hated it. But actually,
I really liked it.
I really liked it because I've grown up watching Madden.
Yeah.
And if you want to get kids into the game, that's how they get into the game. They get into the game via Madden.
How I got into the NFL was playing Joe Montana football on the Master System.
Yeah.
I got into it through watching John and his brother play Madden.
Yeah.
That's how I got into it. So
speaking of cameras, I think you mentioned kind of booth reviews. Just have a TV referee. Just have a guy who's there watching it on the TV, and you instantly call when there's a foul or not a foul. And it's
back to where we started with third umpire.
They do have a team, don't they, in New York or wherever they are these days? But they just seem so slow.
Every game, just have a guy who is part of the officiating crew. Yeah, and you can just say there's a penalty there, or ref, do you know what that? And this comes back to one. Consistency on the holding call. I think it's ridiculous at the moment. That's a technicality.
I was going to say, am I still allowed to have...
We knew you would mention it.
Yeah,
pass interference.
The three of us haven't mentioned it because we knew you would.
We kind of assumed it would be
I've been
you.
sat here for a while going, should I? But then I just can't help myself.
It's low-brown bingo is what we were playing.
I just can't help myself.
We have Mariota and Fitzmagic,
It's just so bad.
The pass interference call.
Yeah, it should just be 10 yards, and that's how I'm going to shut up.
We all agree with you for what it's worth. We just knew that you would bring it up, so we didn't bother saying
I
it.
tried not to, but I couldn't help it.
Any more?
For UK fans, more terrestrial TV programming.
That's good.
That's good and on a reasonable time.
Effectively, we had the Tuesday show on BBC and the Saturday night show, and then they lost the Tuesday show and then have replaced that with a shit Sunday show on Channel 5.
What you're saying is we should be given a job presenting this on the TV.
Yeah.
Ideally on the BBC so I can get some of my taxpayers' money back.
But I guess the difference is the I guess with the Channel 5 show they were going for a different demographic, but it seemed the demographic they were going for was idiots. And
yeah,
it was. I mean, I watched it. I watched the first 10 minutes of a program. I was like,
I tried to watch it, and I just found it really
it's too dumbed down.
It spoke down to, I think as well, a lot of sort of the NFL UK Facebooks, they hated it. I'm not quite sure who it was appealing to, I liked Channel 5's Monday night presentation, but that show was awful. And the thing is, you need more. Like the thing about the 100 is, it's on BBC as well. Yeah. I'm watching it.
Yeah, and on YouTube.
Back to your point around like the Channel 5 show, it was bad, and I can understand they're trying to appeal to people who don't know about NFL that much. But Jason and Ossie were brilliant.
Yeah.
At appealing to a fan base, which does, because occasionally they do go through things. I'm sitting there going, God, I know this.
Yeah.
But you respect the fact that they have to make an appeal to people who don't know the game as well as
I don't mind that. I don't mind sharing it across the demographics, but it all seems to be...
It's just bad.
It wasn't good. We could have made a better show.
Puerile.
In this doghouse, we could have done a better job.
Bring back the Tuesday show at least,
Please.
and just more of it.
And the Snap UK podcast are happy to host.
Always.
Gary's wife will even give him time off to come to the studio.
Yep.
Whatever.
Key lime pie.
Let's not start. Anyone else?
There we go.
Anyone else? No? Okay, I'm closing that section off because I am looking forward to John's quiz because I sometimes do all right on these, and it's one of the rare times when I get to be victorious. So
It's a higher lower quiz, isn't it?
Effectively,
I seem to remember I wasn't very good at the higher low.
everyone
quizzes.
sucked at these. So
Can't cheat this time on the laptop. Either.
so it's play your Cardinals right.
Here we go.
Oh.
Makes a good
John's
podcast
not,
when he's.
not playing his Cardinals right now.
He's not.
Because we have a delay on the podcast.
I know. You give him one job and he's just it goes to his head.
Technology
Okay,
fails.
so I'm going to. It's literally who's older.
Ooh,
So
we talked about this one a while ago, didn't we, John?
So I'm going
Me.
to mention a player. I'm going to mention a player, and then I'm going to say to someone else, they're all they might not be active, but they're famous people. Players.
Are you starting with Tom Brady and working down?
No. I'm
Me and John talked about it probably about 3 months ago, 2-3 months ago, about how, because their careers come out of college differently. You don't really, you totally lose track of age. And like me and John were talking about how interesting it is because you go,
Sam Darnold's the same age as Joe Burrow.
exactly,
And you've ruined question one.
so we thought it would be interesting. I'll be terrible at it, but I still thought it would be interesting.
So, of course, if you don't know this, it's all based on the rules of play your cards right. So higher, lower, whatever. If you don't know the rules,
Is that you get nothing in this game for a pair?
Yep, not in this game. Get nothing. Anyway,
I love a pair.
so I'm starting with the man of the moment, the man that the Packers are gambling their future on. It's Randall Cobb. He was he was born on the 22nd of August, 1990.
Yeah.
Just told everyone he's 30 about 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
So he's almost 31.
Yeah.
Andrew Luck. Currently a free agent quarterback.
Well, okay.
Is he older or younger than Randall Cobb? Do you want? Sure, we'll start with Michael. Well, then Michael goes when he gets one wrong, goes to Gary, Jim, and we'll just see.
I hope you're ready, Gary, because this is a very short game. I'm going to say Andrew Luck is younger.
He is older.
Brilliant.
Here, 12th of September,
That's what I was gonna
1989.
Okay.
So, Andrew Luck. We've got Bobby Wagner, Seattle Seahawks linebacker.
Younger.
He is younger. Staying with Seattle though, Russell Wilson.
Older.
He is. He's approaching 33.
You should know Gary knows everything about the Seahawks.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
Drafts them every year in the fantasy.
it's his favourite team. He only buys the.
It's like betting against your own team, isn't it? That's the thing. It's like if the Niners have a crap year, at least I'll do well in fantasy. So something will go well.
Or just don't bet.
He just buys the shirts to injure the players.
Yeah, I'm secretly a massive Hawks fan.
It all comes together now.
All this signed Bowman shirts and all this other memorabilia. Really, I've just got a massive sea eagle behind me somewhere.
So Russell Wilson, 29th of November, 1988. Julio Jones.
Older.
He's younger.
Oh.
Is he not
I would've
32?
gone older. Yeah.
He's still 32, but younger.
That must have been close. I thought I was on a roll then.
8th of February, 1989.
Lovely.
So Julio Jones, Jim,
I also draft him all the time in fantasy as well.
Tyrod Taylor.
Younger.
He is younger, 3rd of August, 1989. Tim Tebow.
Tim Tebow. Has that got an apostrophe in it? It really better have.
Tim Tebow.
Saviour of the Jags.
Jacksonville Jaguars, tight end, stroke quarterback.
Older.
14th of August, 87.
33, isn't he?
He's 34 next week.
Yeah, they make good tight ends, those old people.
Des Bryant.
Younger.
He is. He's 32 and a bit. 4th of November, 88.
Wow, that's been a harsh paper round, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Do you know what? From the next round, if you stuck, I'll let you. You can ask once,
Ask
and
the
I'll give you
audience.
the year they were drafted.
Just get on with it.
Anyway, AJ Green.
Younger.
He is older.
Oh, wow. I thought he would
really?
be
He's
younger as well.
33.
Wow.
So, Michael, AJ Green,
You ready,
31st of July, 88. RG3.
Is younger.
He's 31. So, RG3,
Yep.
12th of February 1990. Stephon Gilmore.
Is he is fractionally older.
He's younger.
He's 31.
He's 30.
Oh, okay. I knew he was coming
Could have gone
up.
one or two ways.
Yeah.
It's sat beautifully because Gary, Stephon Gilmore, 19th of September 1990. Blake Bortles.
Blake Bortles is older.
He is 29.
Wow.
Wow, what a shit
What,
29-year-old.
what an amount he's achieved by that.
In all fairness, I'll give you that.
So,
Could you go back to the Jags?
28th,
Time person of the year, mate.
28th of April 1992 for Blake Bortles. Khalil Mack.
Younger.
Still on here.
Sorry?
Younger.
He's younger. He's 30. Khalil Mack, so 22nd of February 1991. Taysom Hill.
Older.
He is older, 23rd of August 1990. DeAndre Hopkins.
Younger.
Younger. There you go, on a roll. He's 29. Aaron Donald.
Younger.
He's 28. Yeah. Teddy Bridgewater.
Younger.
Older. He is an older 28. 10th of November 1992.
I mean, does this go on indefinitely?
Yeah.
John's done the whole league.
Because I would say, it
We're
is.
about halfway through.
Halfway through. Did you have nothing better to do with your time this week?
No.
Oh, go on then. Speed round.
So
speed round.
Teddy Bridgewater, 10th of November 1992.
I love the way he's giving us the full date of birth.
Hey, it's fine, you know.
You want to give us their, like, you know...
Adele Beckham Jr.,
Younger.
5 days younger. Jarvis Landry.
Younger.
Griff literally couldn't give a fuck.
He's younger.
Go.
Will Fuller,
Older.
younger.
Hey.
Will Fuller's 27.
Wow.
Yeah.
A lot of drugs for someone that's 27.
So, someone we didn't mention who's requested a trade from the Dolphins, Xavier Howard. So, is he younger or older than Will Fuller?
Older.
He is older. He's 28. Michael Thomas.
Younger.
He is older. He's 28, but still older.
Yeah. I thought he was about that age.
So Michael Thomas, Derek Henry.
Younger.
He's younger, still 27. Tyreek Hill.
Younger.
He is younger. Nelson Aguilar.
Older.
He is older. He's 28.
And shitter.
Yeah.
Devontae Adams.
Older.
He is just older, yeah. London-born Jay Ajayi.
Younger.
He is younger
Is he?
than Devontae Adams.
Wow. And far fewer miles on the clock.
Yeah.
Eric Ebron. Bringing up some of the podcast's greatest
Older.
hits.
He's got to be 30.
He's got to be in his 30s.
He's 28.
I
He's
said younger,
He's
yeah.
still older.
Still older.
Still older than Roberto Aguayo.
For God's sake.
God. Kickers are always old. I'm going to go older.
No, he's younger.
He's younger. He's 27.
Yeah, just couldn't be bothered.
So
Oh, for crying out loud. Oh, I'm still in this.
I'm going to do them all.
Don't do them all. Go on.
Zeke Elliott.
Oh, fuck me. I don't know. He's younger.
He is younger
Oh,
than
Younger and
Then
overpaid.
why-
Younger and fatter.
Joey Bosa.
Younger.
You get nothing for a pair.
Same birthday.
Same birthday.
Oh, that's
Please tell
brilliant.
me that was the finish.
Yeah, come on. That's got to be the finish.
It's not the finish, but we'll finish it there.
Yeah, it is the finish. We finished it there.
I managed to get all the way down like Matt Hack has the same. Matt Hack has the same birthday as Alvin Kamara. That's how I
Oh
finish
my
it.
God, at this rate, it'll be
No,
my
no wonder
birthday.
it took him 3 months to get it ready after we talked about it.
I mean, I'll give you that. It was entertaining, but Christ. Right.
For us, I'm not sure about the listener.
No, I'm not. If you are still listening, thank you very much.
If you are wondering when your favourite player was born, let me know.
just tweet John at NFL birthdays.
At the Snap UK.
Do find us on Twitter, Instagram, anywhere. Just go and look, because I'm not in charge of that, but somebody ought to be. Maybe MySpace. We could bring that back.
It's gone.
It's gone, yeah.
Hey,
It's gone, yeah.
Gone.
well,
Everyone was friends with that random dickhead in the black t-shirt, weren't they?
Tom.
Hey,
I don't remember.
Tom
that.
never stole our details and passed it on to the government, man.
And that's why he's out of business, apparently.
Yeah.
Oh, right. So
Fuck
I
you,
can,
Zuckerberg.
I can forget MySpace then. Fine, fair enough. What about graffiti on a flyover? We could
do
try that.
We could try that.
That's big. But yeah, perhaps just find us and say hello, leave a review, and that would be useful. We don't really care what you say either. You can take the piss. It's 1 month to go till kickoff, so I'm quite excited. And I am writing the preview shows for us to do, so that we could be
Isn't
bringing
the
that
Hall
up
of Fame game on Thursday?
I don't care.
Yes.
Or no. I don't know.
It's the Cowboys versus the Steelers.
Wow, I won't be watching that. That'd be awful. Anybody else got any irrelevant things to bring up before we sign off? No, good. Excellent. Bye then.